Hello everybody and welcome to today's vlog. Now, this is a little bit of an experiment, so I'm not sure whether or not it's going to work. But this morning is the morning of Saturday, the 28th of December 2024. And hopefully, if the gods are with me and my laptop works, this should be posted tonight. So you're seeing it almost in real time. The story that we're going to have today, which is of Lancaster Bomber PB857. So this ties in with the other two plane crashes on Hatfield Moors from RAF Lindholme, or the former RAF Lindholme. And how this ties in is because of how the stories of the plane crashes have intertwined into almost mythical statuses over the years since the end of the Second World War. So as a for instance of that, if you watched my video on Wellington Bomber R1073, they found a 4-gun turret, and they said from the 4-gun turret it likely migrated from a nearby crashed Lancaster bomber. Well, this site of PB857 is that bomber. Now, we are probably exceptionally stupid because, as you can probably see behind me, it is really foggy today. And this, I can't say crash site because it's not a crash site, this is a deposit site, which I will get onto later. This deposit site is in an exceptionally dangerous part of the moors, and it's pretty much inaccessible most of the year round, which is why we're coming back in winter. And I've also got walking poles to aid me through the worst kind of the terrain as well. So I'll get a little bit further in on the walk, and then I'll tell you all about the difference between the crash sites on the moor and this deposit site. So we're a little bit further in now, we're into the woods. How do I know that this is a deposit site and not a crash site? Well, that comes from two completely different sources. The first one is Rich, who has the website of all the air crashes in Yorkshire. And he has the crash report for this plane, which gives it the coordinates of where it did crash, which is not at the site of where the deposits are. And the second one is a lovely chap, Baz, who's local to the moors and who actually worked at RAF Lindholme for over 20 years. So hi Baz, thank you for putting up with all of my questions and coming up with some lovely answers as well for me. So he knows all about the moors, and he knows that this crash site, because there were no casualties, nobody died in this crash at all, that when it came to cutting the peat, the parts of this plane were just moved, and they were moved to this deposit site. And the reason that they chose this site is because it's a sandbank and it is high up, and it was never going to be anywhere that would ever be disturbed by the peat cutters. And so that's why everything ended up there, away from where it had been, because it's not a war grave, there are no body parts there, and absolutely nobody died in the crash. I believe 2 were injured, but nobody died. So that's why the pieces were able to be moved, unlike the other plane, or planes, which are war graves. So they're left well alone. So just to recap on how we found this place. In the first place, how we found this deposit site, which is absolutely brilliant and is one of my favourite stories about being on YouTube. So about 5 or 6 years ago, William and I did our first ever videos about the haunted moors and about W5557, when somebody about a year later, and I didn't get the notification, posted all the way from the Philippines about another crash site. And of course I am looking for another Wellington Bomber out there on the moors, which I am absolutely sure is there somewhere. And so this gentleman was able to, even though he was in the Philippines, had grown up around here and had spent his childhood bird watching out on the moors, he was able to give me the exact coordinates of where I would find this crashed plane, which is brilliant. So I was able to drag William out there in February. were able to have a really good look around. I posted all of the images on the World War II Disused Air Bases website online on Facebook, and I was able to then through another one of my videos, another local gentleman who still lived local was able to give me some items that he had taken from the crash site years and years ago. I think he said that was in like the 60s when he was a young boy himself, and he'd kept them for all those years in his garden shed. So I was able to get the items, get some lovely brasso to be able to clean up the plate, and I think there was some kind of piston, to be able to prove that it was Lancaster Bomber PB857. That was also when I got in contact with Rich as well, who is the aviation historian. So all of my interest has stemmed from one gentleman who saw my video on YouTube and was able to show me exactly where another plane crash was, in hopes that it was my missing Wellington. But in fact, it was this Lancaster, which is brilliant. So if anyone would like to comment below on any other interesting stuff, and it doesn't have to be RAF Lindholme, it doesn't have to be Hatfield Moors. If you've got anything of any interest from World War II, I'd absolutely love to hear it, so please do comment below. Look at the moors today. You can only see about 20 metres in front of you, so I would absolutely say, unless you know where you're going on the moors, don't try them. They are an absolute death trap. And just when you think everything's stable underfoot, you come across a little pond like that, which has been carved out of the earth. If you do come here, however, handy tip, don't wear big layers of clothes, wear lots of little layers. This is something that I was taught recently. So I've got a vest on, a sleeveless t-shirt, a sleeved t-shirt, a proper exercise hoodie, a jacket, a knitted scarf and a standard scarf. So what that means is I can strip off like an onion and I can put it back on again as well when it's needed. But the last thing you want to be out here in all of this is unprepared. It is brutal out here, absolutely brutal. And even though they are still digging up bodies from World War II, we don't need to add to the body count. So yeah, play it safe, people. Don't come out in this weather, even though it is beautiful. Oh my goodness, that was not easy. And I'm quite a fit person. I do about 5 or 6 kilometres every day, most days anyway. And this is the crash site, and it's really not easy to get to. I'll show you some more in a minute. I'm not sure, due to the rain and the water that we have here, whether or not I'm going to be able to get over to the other side of the bank, but I will be able to show you what is here. So, oh, also, there's an awful lot of burnt metal here, and a lot of people, I think that's why they thought that this was the actual crash site. The burnt metal actually came from the Moors fires that were here a few years ago. So that's why an awful lot of this is now gone or disintegrated. I'll show you now all of the bits that are left. So here goes. A lot of this is all molten lava. I won't take any photographs this time round. I'll use the photographs that I took previously in February of this year. And that is because there was an awful lot more, and I was able to take a lot more pictures then, just due to the weather. But yes, all this is disintegrated. There's some all the way up here, all bits of plane. You can't go anywhere on this site without seeing bits of the deposited plane. Looks like a filter of some description. And I'm not sure, but is that a gun? I don't know, but I mean, it could be. These were planes that were mounted with guns. I think I can see a way across as well. Lots of piping here. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah. It's not the most stable thing in the world, but yes, with the sticks we can get across to the main bit of the deposit site. Again, is that a gun? Is that a pivoted bit? No idea. It could be anything. If you do know what these bits are though, please do comment below. It'd be lovely. Oh, this is one bit that I do know. This is the oxygen bottle. So that bit I do know. Not much left of it though, it is corroding. And there appears to be a massive piece of metal under here that goes all the way. It is almost like a sleeper from a train. It's massive and really thick and goes all the way under there. But yeah, this was PB857. So just to give you some idea, in that direction over there is RAF Lindholme. So we anticipate that the plane was probably between 50 and 100 metres away originally from this location. We do know, due to people telling us that were actually working here on the moors at the time in the 70s, that the plane crash was not at this site, but that all the bits were just thrown here that got caught in the cutting machines. Lancaster, Mark 1, PB857, near Lindholme Airfield. On the 9th of October 1945, this 1656 heavy conversion unit aircraft was flown on a training flight. By the time the aircraft was close to landing at base at Lindholme, the port outer engine cut out and the propeller could not be feathered, and so was windmilling. On the approach to land in poor visibility, the pilot lost control, making a turn over the peatlands to the east of the airfield. At 13:36 hours, it crashed and came to rest in the small area of rough woodland across a ditch within the peatland area, and a fire broke out within the aircraft. The crew appear to have managed to have scrambled out. At 13:40 hours, the fire tender crew were informed by Lindholme Flying Control of the crash, and the tender was dispatched towards the site but was unable to reach it. The fire that broke out after the crash had to be left to burn itself out, but this unfortunately all set fire to the peatlands surrounding this site. Historian Eric Barton gave me, meaning Rich, the author of this piece, the crew list. I show below, but he has since died. I never did ask him his source of this, for I have not been able to find it recorded in original source records myself. So the pilot was Pilot Officer Harris Reed, RAF VR. Sergeant E.N. Wallace, injured. Sergeant F.N.W. Wookie, injured. Sergeant Kettle, Pilot Officer Griffin, and Sergeant Harmon. Now again, we do know that this did crash in the peatland, but it didn't, unfortunately, crash here at this exact spot, which is a bit of a shame because it's so eerie, and as I mentioned before, it's just like Armageddon out here. You would absolutely believe this to be the site of the plane crash. And also, just on a personal note, this site gives me the willies something cruel. It always has done, which is an irony that nobody actually died here. At the site that's memorialised as W5557 but is actually R1073, where there are actual human remains, I've never felt anything but peace and tranquility and love there. But here, wow, this place is just odd. very, very odd. Right, I think it's time to trek back through the moorlands. I'm going to put some photographs up now, but because of the state of the weather today, these aren't from today, these are photographs that I took in April, so I hope you enjoy them. Sorry, not April, February. I took them in February, but I still hope you enjoy them. So from an absolutely beautiful and foggy Hatfield Moor, thank you so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the story of Lancaster PB857 and its place in history out here on the moors as one of the only surviving sites. Even though it's not the crash site, it's a deposit site, it is still a site where its remains are. And the only other plain site that we know of is R1073, which is at the memorial site for W5557. Thank you so much for watching. We upload every single Thursday, but when I get time, like during these Christmas holidays, I will upload war stuff on a Saturday as well. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. So William, did you like that vlog today?
Yeah.
And what do you do now?
Hit that like button, that subscribe button. We're up.